indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Hidma,
Here.
Jurdy,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Briggs,
Here.
Cavalier,
Here.
Kressel, Klatt,
Here.
Menard.
Here. Okay, it's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Okay, hearing none from the chambers. Chad, anybody on the bridge, please?
No, Your Honor, I will close bridge.
Thank you.
Agent logged off.
Okay, we have no presentations. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda?
I wish to remove the second and final reading of the interim ordinance.
Explain, remove.
I feel that as a council member, I don't think I had enough information, first and foremost, and I also am really struggling with the wording of the ordinance.
So Councilmember Jurdy, there is a first and a second to that, so it will be for roll call. So at that time, you can make that decision.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. Thank you, Tim and Don, thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
So are we approving it as is, or are we approving it with my amendment?
There is no amendment. There will be a call for a second reading, then there'll be discussion, and then you vote.
Okay.
And if it's voted down, then the process is done. If it's voted through, it becomes a moratorium. So there will be a second vote.
So you don't pull it from the agenda then?
No, you don't. It's on the agenda, and you vote up or down on whether it's approved.
Okay. Fine.
Okay, roll call, please.
Hidma,
Here. Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, this brings us to the regular agenda.
Consent.
Oh, sorry, consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor. Second.
Got Clayton and Don, thank you. Roll call, please.
Hidma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on, no public hearings. Ashley, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution regarding the request for proposal summary capital improvement plan related to streets, sidewalks, sanitary sewer, water, stormwater, and signage inventory report for the city of Crookston.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
moved, Your Honor.
Got Don and Tim, thank you. Discussion, Corky, please.
Yes, what this is, as we've discussed in the past, the city is in need of an overall assessment of its streets, water, and sewer. This would be a proposal which would go out for proposals to come to the city to conduct such an evaluation and investigation and mapping of our city streets. This is simply a request, your approval for the request to go out.
So somebody comes in and just goes around our city and looks at our streets and gives us a,
It's a little bit more detailed than that, but yes, they do an analysis of their present condition, and then also analysis of our sewer and water, and then makes a proposal about tiering, if you will, which should be addressed first, second, third.
And the benefit for this process, as I understand it, is that grants that the city would be applying for development opportunities, oftentimes require this kind of analysis of our infrastructure. Is that
Yes.
And I believe state funding as well, correct?
Yes, this is, if we have this, it can certainly be a benefit to the city as it applies for various federal, state grants.
so what's the cost of this?
We don't know till we get the proposals. This is just allowing for the proposals to go out.
So we can't get the grants if we do it for self-evaluation of our own, or?
There are certain state requirements that you have to hit certain type of assessments. And so in order to get larger funding from federal and state, they require this type of assessment.
Okay.
I can't say we could never, but it's a broader base of grants that we could apply for and maybe get.
Okay.
And this costs us nothing. It's simply requesting proposals.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on.
Item 8.02 is a resolution regarding the authorization and confirmation of the sale of real property by the city of Crookston to David and Gloria Kildall.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Got Henry and Clayton. Thank you. Discussion. Corky.
This is another one of those cleanups where there was not actually ever passed a resolution authorizing the city to sell this to the Kildalls. We did obtain information, in fact, a canceled check that they had paid, so we need to clean this up. As I understand, they're in the process of selling their home.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.03 is a resolution regarding the purchase of the short post snow wing attachment for the Public Works Department.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved?
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Henry. Discussion.
Yes, this is a proposed purchase of an attachment to our road grader to make snow plowing more efficient and more effective. I don't believe we presently have one, but it would be helpful to have this. And we do have the funding for it, as you saw in the resolution. And Brandon's going to make it even more clear.
So Kent was inspecting our older grader, and he's repaired the wing on it multiple times. So this is a replacement for the existing wing. We budgeted $35,000 for the belly scraper on our truck, adding it. And when I tried to get quotes on adding it, I found out that we can't add that to our existing truck. So we are reallocating the 25,000 of the 35,000 for that belly scraper to replace the wing. And then when we purchase our next plow truck, we'll order it with a belly scraper on it. With the emissions on our current trucks, we would have to remove the exhaust emissions to get the belly scraper on there, and we can't do that, so.
Thank you, Brandon. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.04 is a resolution regarding the purchase of the protective sheeting related to storm water gates.
Thank you. And do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. Discussion?
Chad, if you want to put those up. What we have here is a proposal to purchase some sheets of metal which go over the open grids or grates that we have on certain valves that we open and close our stormwater valves. What we have now is snow and ice get in there. They freeze those valve closures. We have to send people down in there with hot water. It gets steamy. It doesn't work very effectively. We're proposing to purchase metal, aluminum sheets that go over the top of the grates to cover them in the winter so we don't have that problem when it comes time to operate those valves.
So they're pretty durable. You can stomp on those things,
Yes.
I mean, they don't-
Yes.
go up and down. Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, so what you can see there, that was actually in Jerome's edition, and they're heavy duty enough that you can go over them. They've had four-wheelers, ATV, stuff like that, general walk-in, stuff like that, you can go all over those.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.05 is a resolution regarding the approval of the new Public Works Director.
We have a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved, Your Honor?
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Clayton. Thank you. Discussion. Corky,
Yeah,
please.
This has been an ongoing process looking for a new Public Works Director. We received, I believe, 3 applications. This is the gentleman that was selected to be reviewed by Brandon, by Jordan, and by myself. We conducted an initial interview approximately 2 to 3 weeks ago. He is presently the Public Works Director in Fisher. He's been in that position for 3 years. He's done a variety and probably all of the things in Fisher himself. He does have 1 assistant. The interview process, we spent quite a bit of time with him, and we all agreed that he was a good candidate for our position. Then subsequently, we interviewed him a second time and confirmed that we think he would be a good choice. And each of the 3 of us would recommend his approval to start September 18th.
Further discussion. Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.06 is the second and final reading of an interim ordinance prohibiting the sale, testing, manufacturing, cultivating, growing, transporting, delivery, and distribution of cannabis products in the city of Crookston.
Okay, this is open for discussion.
I just wanted to remind everybody, Councilmember Cavalier has made the motion and Councilmember Jurdy has seconded it.
Thank you. Cork, you want to open it up, or
Well, this
Christie?
is, the-
My concern is since, first of all, I've made this pretty clear that I felt that this moratorium was quite rushed. I feel like when we're going through as a city and really when we talk about the transparency of a lot of these types of things, the fact that we had the public forum, the voting, and the first reading all in the same council meeting was a little bit concerning to me. I felt that we needed to have a little bit more time to really kind of dig into this. This is a very confusing bill that has been passed by the state of Minnesota, and I think there's a lot of question marks that have still been left unanswered. My understanding and my perception, whatever you want to call it, I felt like this was really like we had to get this through because if we didn't do it by August 1, then somehow something was going to go off the rails. And my understanding is that even if a dispensary wanted to come in tomorrow and sell any of these types of things, that legally they can't because they don't have the correct licensure, and that licensure doesn't seem to be of the ability to get one. It doesn't seem like it's something that's even available until 2024. And so I'm really wondering, when I asked initially the question, well, why do we need to have this? I was told, well, then we can start, making our plans for how we're going to manage this. But whether or not we have a moratorium, it doesn't seem to affect whether or not we can go forward making the plans to decide how we want to manage dispensaries in our city. My perception was that it was very much something that had to get done, or for some reason something was not going to happen. I don't know other council members felt about that. That was just how I felt. Again, I made this pretty vocal about the wording of the moratorium, especially with how it says no individual, establishment, organization, or business. It makes it seem like the city has some type of ability to stop individuals from growing, cultivating, or transporting. And I will tell you, I've had a lot of residents reach out to me, and they're really concerned with the wording of the moratorium. And I know it's been made clear by Corky that the city doesn't have that. It's been made clear by the bill that that's the case. But then why is the moratorium written this way if that's not the case? So I am just really concerned. I'd like us to take a couple steps back and reevaluate this, since there isn't really a huge rush, as I think initially a lot of us thought, and really have a conversation about, does this need to be a year? Does this need to be 6 months, 3 months? Do we need to have a moratorium? I really want to have a better idea of why we're placing one at this point, because all the things that I initially understood about that don't seem to be necessarily correct. And I don't think that the council in general had a lot of time to really dig into that. I think that we have a lot of our residents who have come to us individually and have shared their concerns as well. And so I would like to reconsider this.
So I don't think this moratorium really does anything to stop what we intend to stop within the city of Crookston. I would rather spend our time making up our own ordinance of how it should be handled within the city of Crookston. You know, I know Corky has stated it takes a lot of time to get an ordinance going. Well, why don't we just start with our alcohol ordinance, remove the word alcohol and put in cannabis and start with that, then adjust it as time goes on. I mean, that would be a simple start to an ordinance that we can just build off of or add or remove stuff as time goes on. I just think this doesn't do, I don't think it does anything at all.
I concur. I really feel, as my colleagues have already stated, that it just doesn't seem like it's something that we need to focus our energy on. I concur with what Delane has said about looking at reworking something that's already in place. I think this is an opportunity for Crookston to take a position of leadership in this milieu, and it's an opportunity to really focus on the potential for a municipal cannabis operation that could fund, so many programs that are underfunded in our community.
Corky, I have a question. If we pass this, what is our next step?
If this resolution is passed,
Ordinance. It's the ordinance.
our ordinance is
Ordinance
passed,
yeah.
it's just implemented as part of our code. If it's not passed, then we have no moratorium and will be bound by the state statute. That's clear. And if we're supposed to, or as we're directed as a staff to prepare our own ordinance, it will take quite a bit of work in consultation with our legislators and the League of Minnesota Cities, how we do that.
But it's going to happen either way, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
It doesn't really affect, the moratorium doesn't really affect one way or another whether we go forward looking for our own way of writing our own ordinance.
Absolutely.
And the state of Minnesota right now, and the statutes of the state of Minnesota dictate that nobody could get the licensure to sell it. And the only place that it's being sold at this point, from my understanding, is on the reservations, where they have the ability to do that.
100%
So regardless
correct.
of a moratorium being placed right now or not being placed, it doesn't really do anything.
Well, it does do one thing. It stops the sale even if a licensure were given. It
But the
gives it-
licensure is not being able to be given until 24, correct?
That's not
25.
correct.
25.
January 1st, 2025, right?
25.
No, that's not correct. They could issue them sooner.
They don't even have the committee together to issue them.
And understand, I'm not advocating for this. I'm asking or answering your question. They could develop the criteria and issue them in a month. I'm not saying they will.
And if that
probably
is the
won't.
case, then we would be bound by the statutes of the state, correct?
Well, there is no statute in terms of the ordinance where it could be sold, hours of sale, that kind of
But
thing.
even if we had the moratorium, if a license was given, that moratorium still doesn't stop.
It does in the sense of we would develop be developing ordinances about where, when, times of sale.
That's what I suggest we need to do right now.
I'm not,
I mean, and I don't, again, I'm not an attorney, but I don't understand why, what takes so long to get an ordinance going? Why can't we just craft a basic framework of how we want this? I mean, a distance from schools, wherever we want it to be sold.
timeframes,
And
the
however we
ages.
want it, and just start with that.
So Corky, my question is if we passed this today,
Yes.
right, and we put the moratorium on there, we could start tomorrow and in the next meeting you come and say like, here's our new recommendation, right? Not saying that that's going to
yes.
happen, but I'm
Yes,
saying like,
that's
it's,
entirely possible.
it's not stopping us from coming up with anything and, or directing, and nobody's gonna like
No.
slow down.
No, we could come next week, next 2 weeks, yes.
All I think is this is a symbolic thing that cities are doing all across Minnesota to say, okay, our community is against this bill, which really doesn't do anything. It's all symbolic. I mean, no matter what we do, the law is the law. We can't stop it. We can't do anything. So I
Well,
mean,
and I'm concerned, as Christie mentioned too, about the language. I've been approached by constituents that are concerned that the language seems to indicate that an individual transporting product that they may have purchased legally could possibly face some kind of criminal action. So I don't like the language. Even if we were to approve a moratorium, I wouldn't vote to approve the way this moratorium is written.
So for Tim and Christie, if they were to go back, let's say we don't approve it today, and we were to go back and add the language or remove that individual use is okay, would then you feel more comfortable with it?
Individual use is okay by state statute.
Yeah, but it's.
But they're
the
saying
way it's
if we
written, the
rewrote
language-
it
The
and
way it's
just
written is
added that in there.
confusing, but the fact of the matter is that if you're doing it individually, it still doesn't matter.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Under state
like
stat-
yeah,
within-
it's a confusing language. Like it makes it seem like it might be illegal, but it's totally
Yeah.
legal. It's just
And
about
we
the
understand
selling.
that. We understand that,
I
but we
mean,
have the
then why-
language
then why are we
that.
fighting?
Because
Yes,
we've
because-
had enough people come to us as a city council members that they have concerns, and they have concerns about the way it's written, and we can tell them all, yes, no, that's great, it'll be fine, don't worry about it, but we're still approving something that says it.
Well,
So,
it's within the context of commercial
Yeah.
transactions.
I
No
understand.
individuals within the context of commercial transactions.
I get that, but that's not how it's written.
Well, that is the
I-
way how it's written. It may not be interpreted that way, but.
Sure.
And again, it's entirely your decision, how you approach this.
I think the other thing too is if we were to really reconsider this moratorium is I would like to see us maybe consider a shorter time frame if we're gonna have a moratorium at all. Like Delane said, I would really like to see us be more of a leader in this and not just we're putting a moratorium because everybody else is doing it and following suit. I think that there's ways for us to manage this. I think that the reality of it is that if they don't even have the licensures, the board that even would, disperse that, currently up and running, I mean, it's not like this is gonna happen tomorrow, and I'd like us to actually be a little bit more thoughtful about this instead of just doing it because everyone else is.
I got one question. Delaney mentioned about, as far as a blueprint following our alcohol ordinance, would it be better to follow the tobacco ordinance?
yeah,
I think so.
yes.
I mean,
I
right?
mean, whatever closely aligns to what we're trying to accomplish. Then that would be a great framework for us to start. And, I mean, what is it, so let's just say we did that, and we said, okay, we're all gonna follow the tobacco ordinance. Then if we want to add things or take things out, how big of a deal is that? It comes to council, we vote on it, right? And takes a couple meetings, correct?
If it's an ordinance, yes.
Yeah.
So I just
An
feel
amendment.
that, just talking with Corky, that our liquor ordinances are quite long, or is more detailed than, I think, our tobacco ordinance. Could be wrong with that, but I just feel it'd be easier to follow the tobacco ordinance versus the alcohol ordinance.
What are the legal ramifications, Corky, if we just did that? I mean, what, if we just did the tobacco ordinance or the alcohol ordinance and we substituted tobacco with cannabis or alcohol with cannabis? What is the worst that can happen?
Well, the worst, it could be declared violative of a state law or unconstitutional. That's if you want the worst.
Right.
As a practical matter, our city ordinances regarding alcohol are very antiquated, and they're not just like stores or cities that have municipals. They're very different. The tobacco would probably be a better analogy, but again, because of the specifics regarding cannabis, we'd have to incorporate some of those specifics. And so it's not just substituting cannabis for tobacco. There are some additional things in the state legislation and how you would frame those. It's not insurmountable. It's not something that can't be done. It's just when you're a trendsetter, it takes a little more time, and then would you be prosecuting people under that ordinance, that kind of thing?
Well, we'd be prosecuting people under the moratorium if they did something against the moratorium.
We could be.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I mean,
could
that's
be.
for people selling, it's not for the individuals.
right.
Yeah, the individuals under the moratorium are protected, if you will, or they're covered by state law. As long as they're doing what is allowed, there's no issue.
I mean, there are certain stipulations already in place about what they can have and where they can have it and how they can store it and what they can have on their person.
And
So a lot of that stuff is already kind of set.
And just, again, I'm not advocating either way, but just so you know, you can't just pull people over here and say, let me look in your trunk, let me look in your car, those kind of things. It doesn't do that. But the worst that could happen, in answer, is the ordinance is declared violative. Someone challenges it if they're arrested, let's say. Is that likely to happen? Probably not. Would the city attorney and myself be trying to make sure it doesn't happen? Absolutely. So that's the worst that can happen. We can't increase any penalties for use. We can't diminish any penalties.
So how is that different than a moratorium? What's the worst that can happen with the moratorium?
Is that you would be prosecuted for what is prevented in here, the selling outside the state statute, the use outside the state statute, the setting up, let's say a license came earlier than we had thought, and someone sets up a cannabis shop in an area that the city didn't feel was appropriate. To have to go back and,
Well, if we had an ordinance, that would prevent that.
if we had an ordinance, that's correct. And again, that is something that can be done. It's not an issue. It's just, do you want to do that? And that's fine.
Or do nothing.
Or you do nothing and just leave it sit and be,
that's not-
just let state
Well, I
statute.
mean,
That's not the
Yeah,
direction
for
we
me,
should
I don't
take.
think doing nothing is the correct answer. I would, like I said, say spend our time just developing an ordinance and make modifications as time goes on.
I guess I just feel like we aren't spending, like, to your point of like not wanting to spend time on this, I feel I would rather put the moratorium in place, take 2 seconds, so when we can be trendsetters or for the state, and decide what is best, and we can come up with a really good plan and not feel rushed because we're trying to get it out before a license can become
right.
available.
So how long does it take to draft an ordinance?
Well, there is no time.
So if we say we're gonna give you 6 months to get this ordinance up and running,
An ordinance could be drafted, presented to you well within 6 months. Yes.
so then.
I'd
that
rather
being-
have an ordinance that was 6 months, and I'd rather have something that says, in the use of retail under this, I'd like to have that language changed, and I'd be more willing to sign off on this. I think we also have the opportunity in 5 months or whatever, just to make sure we have enough time for another reading.
So-
We can always come back to it if we need to enact another moratorium.
The only thing, and again, just so you know the parameters, if this fails, that's fine, then anything that new has to come back, we have another public hearing, we go through that whole process of public hearing, first reading, second reading, sure. But it will take some time to draft an ordinance. It's not, I wish it were as simple as just substituting cannabis for tobacco. It's not. But it certainly can be done.
So is it possible to table this and just make some language changes in this, or not?
In my opinion, no. If we do not pass this, and that's fine, then we start the process all over again.
Okay,
Which is, I mean, it's not insurmountable. It's not even, if you want my opinion, it's not even something that is an impediment. It just sets it back.
So can we end up where we're at right now?
Could end up back where we are right now, yes.
I would like to see us, with these changes, I'd like to see a public hearing and then to give it to the next meeting to make the vote and have people be able to come forth and share their concerns, and for the council to actually take some time and really think through what's been said and then vote on it.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we can't get an ordinance ready for the next council meeting and
I'm
a
not, I'm
public
not saying
hearing.
that, I'm just saying if we're able to change this, the moratorium on the stipulations that we're asking for, and do the public hearing again, vote on the moratorium, and we go forward.
I think you start all over.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
That's not,
If this doesn't pass, and that's fine, you start all over.
That's
It
not
may have substantially the same language, but what language is in there, I can't tell you what you would all agree on, quite frankly. We just have to come forward with what we as a staff understand you're directing us to do. Retail and commercial are two different words. You know, one is, you spoke of retail, someone spoke of commercial, they're different. So,
okay. Call for the vote. Ashley, maybe you want to read that one more time, please? So,
Yes.
thank
Okay.
you.
So we have Councilmember Cavalier with the motion, and second with Councilmember Jurdy for the second and final reading of the interim ordinance prohibiting the sale, testing, manufacturing, cultivating, growing, transporting, delivery, distribution of cannabis products in the city of Crookston.
And I can withdraw that, correct? The second?
You can.
sure.
Yes. And I'm
Yes,
withdrawing it.
absolutely.
Councilmember, so call for a second if someone would like a second.
So we're,
We have Councilmember.
Christie Holder
Withdraw.
second, so I'm asking, is there a second?
I can second it.
Morgan's gonna second, thank you.
So again, Councilmember Cavalier has the motion, Councilmember Hibma has the second. Are you ready for roll call?
Let's have roll call, please.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Nay.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Nay.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Hey,
Menard.
Nay.
We have, correct, it is failed. You have to-
Okay, the ordinance or the motion for cannabis ordinance has failed. All right. Moving on. Reports, Corky, please.
A lot of activity this week, or these 2 weeks. It's ironic, but we watched 2 seminars on cannabis legislation. Very informative by the League of Cities, very informative. Lots of controversy, lots of talk about where this is going, and it will be a very slow process. We had Public Works Director interviews on 2 occasions. We had numerous department head discussions, and those meetings have lasted at a minimum of 2 hours, and one that went over 8 hours. So a lot of thoughtful discussion going on, a lot of issues in the budget process. And you'll see the benefit of that tonight with the presentations. We had a number of discussions, Ashley is the clerk and I, about UMC's homecoming at the CSC. We were able to give them guidance on how that will be handled with respect to where the alcohol sales will be conducted and how they'll be done. I spoke at the Lions meeting at the Golden Link to a number of people who had lots of questions. We've discovered that we have fire service agreements that haven't been updated since 2006. So we are working on those. Our fire department provides services to entities outside our city limits. And we've had just a number of meetings with department heads, department staff in preparation for the budget meetings and the Ways and Means Committee meetings. That's an all-encompassing process, and you'll hear the results tonight. But it's slow. We are doing line by line, just so you appreciate that, line by line. Where we were last year and where department heads want to be this year. And as you hear, the first presentations will be what they want. That's all I have.
Thank you. Let's start with Darren. Anything to report?
Thank you. Yeah, so again, in the last 2 weeks, we've responded just over 500 calls for service. Again, been very busy, very active. Like everyone, been busy with PD's budget. Had my first budget meeting with Audrey and Corky this year. So I think I'm up next council meeting, next Ways and Means. I was supposed to be this one, but I got bumped, so which is okay. I'll take the extra time. It was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't. Okay. Outreach programs. Night to Night was a huge success again this year. Thanks to all who attended. Started off a little rough. We had some serious weather, thunderstorms come in, which I think only lasted about 45 minutes to an hour. We had to move festivities inside, and then we're able to go back outside. And it just kind of seemed like all of a sudden people showed up in droves. I think they're waiting in their car for the rain to quit. So it's really difficult to estimate numbers, but we're thinking, well, we handed out 1,100 wristbands for prizes. And, most of those are children who come with 1 or 2 adults. So, I think it's safe to say it was well in excess of about 1,500 people that showed up for Oxcart. So, yeah, it turned out to be a good day. Next outreach, obviously, is Oxcart. We've met with the committee. Our involvement at the PD is security and traffic control for the many events that are scheduled through the week, starting this Wednesday. The Torchlight Parade, that's probably the largest event for us, takes the most staff to accommodate the parade route with traffic control and whatnot. We do have everything staffed, so we're sitting in pretty good shape. Tomorrow, IT Director Chad and I will be participating in UMC's annual tabletop clery training. Shane might also be there, I think, if he's coming. It kind of was a up and down. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a Chad training tomorrow. Then I guess since last council meeting, either myself or our representative police department, we've been in meetings with Riverview, Oxcart, DWI Court, Oak Court, Tri-County Community Corrections, and Grand Forks PD Special Operations Group, to name a few. So unless there's any questions.
Night tonight was great.
Thank you.
Good job.
No, the weather actually knocked the humidity out of the air for about half the event, and it turned out pretty good. So thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Shane, please.
Couple things that have been going on. New firefighter, Aiden Leibel, started last week. Got him crunched in there on about a 5-day window, and he actually is on his first shift here today. So that was good. Had multiple discussions with the villa on some state fire code regulations. Met with the DNR, and this month is our month that we get into all of the schools and city businesses our city buildings for fire code inspections. So that's going on right now. Like Darren said, prepping for ox cart days. Friday morning, the pancake breakfast will be down at the fire station. And as much as I'd love to stay here and say that we're going to be full staffed, beginning of September, Nick Potsman is going to be leaving us. He has been, I'm going to call it poached by Minneapolis. And so we're going to be starting a hiring process again. But to Nick's credit, I do want to say that is the quality of firefighter that we had here, even though it was briefly. That's the quality of fire department we have here in the city of Crookston. So as unfortunate as it is, best of luck to him, and that's all I got.
Thank you. Audrey, anything?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Chad, please.
Just briefly, Your Honor, as Darren mentioned, I'll be participating in the tabletop cybersecurity exercise tomorrow, and Zach and I completed the upgrade of the Wi-Fi system at the sports center today. We replaced roughly about 7 wireless access points. The highest was about 30 feet in the air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon.
The utility department, the water department had a couple of water main breaks on the south end of town in the last couple weeks, so they've been cleaning up after that. Edgar in the wastewater department's been assisting with some manhole rehab projects. We budget about $50,000 a year to reman manholes. A lot that were done this year were down on Houston Avenue to get ahead of the street improvements, and then some other bad areas around town. The street crew has been trying to get some sidewalks and curb replaced that were damaged in the last year, and they've made a complete pass through town with the street sweeper. And tomorrow they're gonna try and clean up town square a little bit to get ahead of ox cart days with the street sweeper and get the sidewalks cleared off. I appreciate the support with the RFP for the public works. It'll help Charles/Chuck. I think he goes by Chuck. So it'll give both of us the tools we need to succeed here. So I appreciate the support on that. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Greg, anything?
Just repeating a little bit regarding the budget discussions. I met with Corky and Andre this morning and went through it. It was good information, both give and take. You'll see a lot more in 2 weeks, I believe, for my session. I did a lot of work with Carrie and Kami in the last couple of weeks. I can't get into discussions about that too much, but it's a lot of planning and zoning and land usage, so hopefully good things coming down the pike. I did attended a building official Northwest Regional meeting this past Friday. That's good information that comes from the state. I did go into a reserve delegation agreement with the state. It's smaller state projects that come through that can go to local municipalities or building officials that, that don't require the professional or the more intense review process that the state usually monitors. So that basically just means more income for the city. So it'll be a good thing for the city overall. And just a lot of construction observation, a lot of smaller construction projects, three homes under construction, various stages. One's a slab stage, one's in framing stage, and there's another one in insulation and roofing and shingling stage. So that's about it. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Jake?
Just like everyone else, been working on budgets. I had a meeting with Corky and Audrey last week, and it took us all day Monday and about half the morning to almost lunchtime on Tuesday to finish. So we got that taken care of. Been in meetings, UMC, with Michelle Christopherson about games at the CSC. They're gonna want to do alcohol on Friday night games. Spoke with Corky and Ashley about this, about the homecoming, so we're all on the same page. My staff continue to just keep the community looking good. They've been doing a lot of mowing, a lot of weed whipping, projects that come up. We did do some new flooring at the CSC, so we'll have rubber flooring in from the east entrance all the way to the west entrance. So it'll be good for kids that come in with skates and figure skaters, and there's all areas where they can walk now. Same flooring as what's in the lobby upstairs. I will be going to a couple conferences here coming up next month. Miami Conference and Hockey Director Conference in Minneapolis the first week in September, and then returning to work the following Monday. So Fund Finder did come out, so everything is online now, and we are accepting registrations for activities. The pool has been staying open since we opened it. We are in the process of hiring lifeguards. We are going to be certifying roughly, the last I heard, I talked to Michaela, was 5 new lifeguards coming on board. So training will be August 26th in Crookston at the pool. So we will offer more as we get lifeguards certified at the pool, so.
She's licensed and certified, right? She's an instructor.
She has to re-certify her license to certify, so she's going to do that.
Okay.
But she's lifeguard certified and CPO certified, but she has to renew her training to certified lifeguards.
Okay.
So,
Jake, has there been an update on the structural investigation of the swimming pool?
no, I am not. I've been in sync with, I've been in contact with Adam Sinks from Lunseth, and he was still working on the report, still getting information put together and writing the report.
I can also, that's for the internal parts, the piping and those type
Yep.
things. We have not received a report from SEH on the external structure and the roof and that kind of thing.
Yep. But once we do, we'll get it to you, so. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Carrie, anything to add tonight?
Few things. Budgets, like everybody, I think that we've been in that, and a couple significant budget items that will come from economic development as we're just kind of rebooting that department. Had a really good meeting with Councilwoman Hypno, marketing and some of the options that we could have on marketing. So you guys will be seeing more of that as that comes online. And then also, I know that you had talked about the municipal liquor stores and you wanted monthly updates, and I told Councilman Klatt that we were talking. I did meet with Corky and Audrey today about budget, and one of the things we do have in there is to look at having a consultant that can consult with the city for a municipal dispensary. So that will probably be the 2 most interesting items on my budget, I would say, for that. Kami and Carrie and I are partnering with Jake. There's a grant opportunity coming with Laura Musser Foundation, and the Red Barn Park now belongs to the city, so we're looking at what we can do to maybe develop some options there and to get some grants in there to continue and develop that property. We did receive some good estimates finally on the Tri-Valley building. Thank you, Greg, for all your work on that. So we'll be putting that package together to see what we can do to redevelop the Tri-Valley property. But I can say that we're finally have some numbers in place that we can feel confident about. Thank you, Dr. Mitch Berg, for helping us with the RFP for the infrastructure. That's going to be good. That'll get going. The Washington School, SEH did get back to the evaluation of the Washington School, so I'm sure the council will be having discussions as to how you want to proceed with that in 2025, and we're looking at some different ideas on what could be funded in that. So there's a lot of good ideas coming out there, some initiatives from the state, and even some from federal, so we'll see how that evolves.
Can I just ask real quick on that? I know, like, I believe it's the city of Alexandria had done something similar where they had potted that out for different daycares and stuff. Have you guys reached out to them at all?
No, we haven't, but we are going tomorrow to visit a place that did something similar to that and also used part of it as an incubator. So they have both a daycare and they have pods on site, and then they have an incubator that they've developed. And so they have an open house for this that we saw down at the League of Minnesota Cities. And so we're going back tomorrow. But that's definitely the idea. Is daycare is huge. I met with a couple different employers today, this past week, including D-Manufacturing. And again, their big concerns are, childcare, housing, workforce, so I think it's just a whole package of how do we pull together a good package for Crookston and begin to grow on that. But yeah, on that. So I'm sure you guys will be having discussions on that building and how it may or may not transfer to the city, and I'll leave that to Corky on that. Thank you to everybody who met with us this last couple of weeks to help us with our budget over at Economic Development, because we have a great board over there now that was helping with the budget, but then we also, were able to hear from the city council and some of the initiatives that you guys are interested in, so thank you for taking time to respond to us on that. And if I didn't get a chance to catch up with you, I'm happy to hear more so that we get a complete picture for next year going forward on that. And we're working on some lot splits with Greg, and then also looking on pulling our lots together and start to advertise the lots that we do have in Crookston that are for sale and get them on the market and let people know what we have. And also to get our industrial park marketed. We're pulling together some pretty good packages. We've had a couple people bite on it. We don't have like a hook yet, but we're hoping. We keep working with Deed on that. And lastly, Kami and I are going to be selling buttons for Oxcart Day on Wednesday. So if anybody has volunteer time, I think Oxcart people are looking for volunteers, and we got on the hook for it. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Carrie, can I ask one question about the properties that the city owns? Are those being publicly marketed? Because I know that's always been a big concern with a lot of citizens, is certain people not knowing that that's even available for purchase.
I agree. Yeah, so I've got a list of the properties. I have the ID numbers. Then we'll have to figure out values, and then we'll work exactly. That's exactly what we're working on right now.
I just want to make sure it's really transparent, because I know we've had some
Yes.
concerns about that in the past.
Yes. So we'll get those on there, and then, the thing on lots is if you can get somebody to build on a property and they're going to be long-term tax base for us, then sometimes that might be our portion. And in other situations, it's $30,000 for the lot. So that will have to be discussed on that, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So,
I just want to make sure that those are publicly available.
yeah.
Yep.
We all know who's. Yes, we're working on that.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions for me on that?
And then there's economic development meeting tomorrow morning, correct?
Oh, yeah, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., we have a meeting for our board meeting, our monthly meeting. And then also on the 24th of August at 5 o'clock at the Valley Tech Park, the council's invited, department heads are invited, and my EDA board, to meet with Ellers and talk about just the different options, some of the things that have happened legislatively this year. Ellers is a municipal advisor to cities. And then also to talk, maybe do some project, just to show a pretend project on how we could utilize bonding, talk about TIF, talk about all the different things that are available to a city and why we should do that. So it's a great time to ask them questions if you have any regarding moving forward in economic development projects.
And that's 5 p.m., correct?
5 p.m., yep. We'll do some finger foods and some drinks and stuff like, because I know it's right before supper, so we'll get you a snack.
Okay, thank you.
Good?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Rich, anything from Widseth? Nothing tonight, Thank you. We'll start with Clayton tonight. Anything?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. Henry?
Nothing from me.
Thank you. Christie?
CVB had pushed back their meeting, so we're meeting on the 24th. And DCDP canceled their meeting this month, but they will be doing or volunteering to help out with, I believe, like the corn feed with Golden Link, so I'll try to help out there. But that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you. Morgan?
Nothing here.
Thank you. Tim?
I am currently struggling through the HUD leadership, finance training that's supposed to be done for tomorrow's meeting. I'll be close, but maybe not done. That's it.
All right, thanks, Tim. Delane?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Don?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. I just got really one item here. I attended the coalition of League of or Greater Minnesota. They represent the smaller towns throughout the state and Thief River a couple weeks back. And supposedly it's raining money. I'm not sure how we can get our hands on it, but that was one of the discussions. But Commissioner Jennifer Ho, I think that's how you say her name, she's from the Housing Finance Agency. And she did a little talk on housing challenges and solutions in Greater Minnesota. Some of them was, there's federal infrastructure funding. They talked about, you know, the economic development, affordable workforce housing. And at the conference, city leaders of the state, you know, they were very interested in the state plan on workforce housing through meaningful investment in housing and how the HFA, which is Housing Finance Agency, is leading the charge. The panel discussion, I don't know, it was kind of comical, you know, they kind of pick on each other. We had Representative Deb Keel there, and then Jeff Brand from St. Peter's, he was on the DFL side, and then the Senate was Lindsay Port. I think she's one of the leads in the DFL in the Senate. And I hope I pronounce his name right, Senator John Janiski. He was from Faribault. Thank you. Anyway, basically they discussed, you know, the cannabis question didn't come up at all with them, but they, you know, were very polite up there, but their main thing they addressed was the pros and cons of the trifecta in the legislator. Basically, that's, you know, the Democrats are in control of the House, the Senate, and the governor. So there was a lot of discussion on that, the big cons, where the Republican side thought, you know, the Democrats move stuff too fast through committees.
Like the cannabis bill?
Yeah. So all in all, it was a good communicating with other administrators, mayors, and council members in Thief River. They put on a very good event, and Brian Holmer is going off as president. And I think he's from St. Peter's. Rick Schmidt, I had a nice conversation with him. He's going to be the new president, and I think he'll do well. He's very knowledgeable, and he's been around for quite a while. So that's all I have. Attend the Ox Cart or celebration where you can, and just a reminder, we'll have a Ways and Means to follow. If nothing else become before council, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.